This is Casey Kasem. You're listening to my favorite podcast, Mouse and Weens, on America's Top 40.
Mouse and Weens, and a 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 mouse and Weens.
Welcome everybody to Mouse and Weens. We're back. It is Joelle, the mom one, mouse, down here in San Diego, reporting from my bedroom. Summertime. And Weens.
I'm Weens, and I'm on the road, and I'm currently in Idaho Falls, Idaho, in my mom's downstairs room with some mucklucks and things behind. So.
The snow.
I know.
Yes,
I love it. Now, Weens, what inspired you to go? You're on the move because
you had COVID and I had to stay out of your house for a few days.
This is true. Yes, this is true. I was convalescing in her back bedroom while she was up in LA doing your job. What's your latest job? You got to tell
I've been working on the Barbie movie, so that's coming out with hot Ryan Gosling as Ken and Margot Robbie as Barbie and Will Ferrell. And yeah, have you guys heard about it?
Yeah, I saw the pictures, but I haven't seen anything because you were doing all the pre-production, right? So they didn't actually start shooting yet.
Yeah, I was on the pre and second unit for stunts, and yeah, they're starting to film though. But It's directed by Greta Gerwig, who did Lady Bird, and it's got a very feminist perspective. And so it's not Barbie as we think about stereotypically. I think it's Barbie breaking out of that old role that we think of.
Good. I can't wait.
Yeah.
That's good. I wish you had gotten to meet Will Ferrell. I still think he would be a great husband for you. But that's for another topic.
For another time.
Another time.
For our guest.
I know. So you heard a third voice. If you're watching YouTube, you can see her lovely face. Who do we have with us down here? But Anna, introduce yourself because I always mess up your last name too.
Yeah, my last name is Portuguese, but people here in San Diego say Araujo, like Spanish. I'm okay with it, but it's Araujo.
Araujo.
Or Araujo, it's fine. That's the American translation.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And I love this woman. I have always had my eyes on you to get onto our podcast because you've just got a wealth of information, and I've always loved your spirit and your demeanor, and you're a cool chick.
Oh, thanks, Jo.
Yeah.
Same.
Thanks.
Likewise. Yeah.
Yes. My very feminist Barbie chick usage. Did you like that? But tell our wonderful listeners who you are, how we met, and kind of, I don't know, your background.
Yeah, so we met here in San Diego at the school that our kids went to, right? The elementary school. And Joelle came in with the hands-on, like hard work for the garden that we were just starting at the school. It was great. I love that time. We were just so into it, and our kids were there. Everybody was so excited. Yeah. And at that time, I was kind of like, not working so much. So I had the privilege to spend some time with my kids and do some volunteer work. So that was awesome to meet you there.
Yeah, and we had so much fun. That was 7 years ago, right? I think. I know. Time flies.
Yeah. So our kids are over, right? Charlotte is done with elementary. So is Emma. So no elementary school anymore.
I know. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
All these changes. So many changes.
Yes, they're growing. So now I have more time to dedicate to work. So at that time, I was just doing some part-time job at the San Diego Community College District, teaching nutrition. And then by 2016, I opened my practice, maybe 2017. And I was, I'm a nutritionist. My formal education is in nutrition. I have a bachelor's of science in nutritional sciences, and I have a master's degree in human nutrition, and all from Michigan State University. Go Spartans! And then, so I left after graduating. I was working in Brazil with sports nutrition, right? So that was fun. I had like some Olympic athletes and beach volleyball players. Very exciting. But then I got married.
That's where you were born too, right? Is that the accent we're hearing? Okay.
Yeah, I'm from Brazil, from the coast side. Very beautiful. And then I got married and came back to the US, and that's when I met you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And she would run these little the clinics at the school garden, teaching kids about how to eat healthfully, which was so wonderful, because that was kind of the goal of our garden, really, was to teach kids how to eat and where their food comes from. And so she had it dialed in, and she was great. But
I loved it.
Yeah.
Teach kids about nutrition and have them, and they were interested, right? So
Totally.
It's like, wow, this is awesome, the hands-on kind of thing, right? Where in the university, in the college, I was teaching for some people that were not really interested, but that was fun. It was a good experience. And then I opened my own practice, and I pretty much seeing all kinds of people, right? From like different health conditions to maybe just weight loss. But on the background, my own, I don't want to say struggle, but my own, I guess, challenges were happening with my health, my own health. And little did I know I was going through perimenopause at the time. So I started doing my own research, kind of like on the side. It still involves health. But since I was doing more nutrition work, which involved more like meal planning, maybe some exercise recommendation here and there, right? Lifestyle. But honestly, what I was going through had to do a lot with another side of, I guess, quality of life, which was lack of sleep, stress, anxiety, all these mood swings, all these things that I was trying to manage with, good nutrition, exercise, and all that I knew how to do it, right? But still struggling. So I was doing my own research and finding out by myself, because the doctor did not say that I was in perimenopause. I was like 42 at the time, maybe 43. And I'm like, wow, this really is strange. And it sounds like it's something. I need to find out what it is. And sure enough, I kind of checked the list, of symptoms. And one that was really like struck me right there is like, oh, irregular periods. I always was very regular, like 28 days, right on the dot. So I'm like, okay, this has to do with hormones, right? So I even got a kind of like a specialty with the IMS, which is the International Menopause Society from the United Kingdom. I think they're based in England. And I learned a bunch. And then COVID hits, and I'm like, at home, kind of like we all have more time to be, I don't know, at least I did, to ask these questions. I'm like, I like being a nutritionist, but I think it's time to move into more of a holistic health kind of thing, not just meal planning. And, some people call it diets, which I don't call it diet, but for me, it's meal planning, right?
Right.
So
and you were helping your clients cook too? Were you creating the meals? So you have all of.
Yeah, it still was very personalized, because, some people have like, different schedules and need more of a flexible thing. So I would customize for different needs. But honestly, I still thought that wasn't enough, especially if I was thinking about helping women going through perimenopause. I'm like, okay, I need to add a component that's really important, and that's mental health and self-care, right? Well, I mean, you can call it self-care or mental health. Mental health can be more of a clinical term, But things like stress management, sleep hygiene, self-compassion, mindfulness, things like that, I was not doing that as my, protocol to my other clients. But for women going through perimenopause, it's essential to have those. So yeah, I started kind of like developing a method that would kind of check all those items that I thought were important to, to look at, to treat, to, all through natural, lifestyle changes, and maybe some supplementation, some of that, but mostly through good nutrition, movement, which I call movement now, not only exercise, but movement, and self-care. So kind of like the basis, the foundation.
And did you find that when you got into this right away, things were changing, like your symptoms were going away, or?
I was managing them better because I guess I started to pay attention to more of my, emotional health and what was going on. And not only listening to my body, I was always really good at that because I've been doing yoga for a long time. And so I listened to my body pretty well. But my emotional health was always kind of like put it aside and I don't know,
relate to that. I've been needing to find my inner peace. Julianne has been poking me to try to like learn how to meditate and take some time and go breathe. And I get so mad at her because I have too many things to do.
Oh yeah, that's the excuse, right? Time.
Yeah.
And then we as women, we have a tendency to put ourselves aside, right? Everybody else gets priority. Like our kids, we do, everything for them, our house, our family, and that's okay. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we can't forget ourselves in the process, our own health, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's hard. So tell us too, Weens, did you want to interject anything here? Sorry, I'm just going to keep going with it.
Go with what you have. I mean, I have a million questions, but I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah. Tell us too. So when we're talking about perimenopause, you mentioned you were about 42 when this happened. Symptoms being sleep, weight gain, perhaps, or just changing body. Yeah. Because I'm there, girl.
Sure. Let me define some terms because there is a little confusion, right?
Okay.
People think sometimes people just say menopause for the whole thing, and there's actually some different terms. So menopause is actually it's technically a point of time. It's a specific point of time when we don't have our periods for 12 months. It's an anniversary.
How sweet.
Yeah. It's the anniversary of not having our period, so we can celebrate not having to deal with that.
Oh my God, for real.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But so anyway, menopause is that, right? You're like officially, and like I'm in menopause right now. Then after that, for the rest of your life, you are post-menopausal. So post-menopause can be, many years, right? It can take like a third of a woman's life being in post-menopause. Now, perimenopause is the time around menopause. Some people call it menopause transition. And I like that term because it's really a transition, right? Mm-hmm. And the difficult thing is that each woman experiences it differently. So there's no like, here is the list of things that you will feel, right? That you will experience. Some women don't have any symptoms, like zero. That's the minority. Most women will have some symptoms, right? And they're like the most kind of like the common ones, right? Are like hot flashes. Like me right now, you see there's a little bit of redness here.
Oh, it looks like a beautiful blush.
It can be because I'm a little hot, but I had that. And that was just, for me, it was more of the night sweats. During the nighttime, it's the same thing, hot flashes, but night sweats, when you're sleeping. And of course, that just disrupts your sleep, right? And so, but apart from that, some women that even without those night sweats, they experience problems sleeping just because of the hormonal changes, all these changes that happen. And in perimenopause, what happens is that our, pretty much our ovaries are just shutting down. Our reproductive years are over, and our hormones are changing. Estrogen and progesterone, they're going to, this time of change, and they're decreasing. But in perimenopause, sometimes estrogen is high, sometimes it's low. One day can be different than the next day, right?
Interesting.
So totally unpredictable. Hormones are going crazy. Like I said, for some women more than others. So this kind of like fluctuation of hormones, that's what makes it so challenging. And some people have the symptoms based on those fluctuations, right? Like you said, weight gain. Some people start having weight gain, which has to do with aging as well, because we start changing our body composition, right? But also,
explain that a little more too, because I mean, I'm sure that's going to be why people are so interested in this. I used to be able to eat whatever I want. I could run a little bit and whoop, it would go right away. No big deal.
Yeah.
And now not so much. So what is that? Why?
So it's a combination of those two things, aging and the fluctuation of hormones. So with time, right, let's talk about women here, right? 30 years of age, we start to lose muscle mass. So that's why it's so important, to do weight training. If you never did that, because, most women who exercise, they like to do more like endurance, walking or running or things like that. We need to focus on developing muscles, because we lose muscles, and after 40, even more, and during perimenopause, even more. So losing muscle means we don't need so much energy anymore, right? Because our basal metabolic rate, kind of like our metabolism, is not burning as much without that much muscle. So that's, there's a little bit of that. The metabolism changes. So even if you keep your same amount of calories per day, your need might be less, right? And then you have some hormones that are, responsible for like metabolism and all that fluctuating. So your body starts to, I don't want to sound dramatic, but it's almost like it's under stress all the time, right? So when the body's under stress, it kind of wants to conserve energy. So there's more of a shift towards conservation of energy. So that's why we develop the belly fat. Sometimes it's mostly abdominal fat, because that's traditionally in body composition, that's our reserve of fat, right? So we are more prone to do that. So that's what happens, what people call menopause. I hate that term.
Menopause belly or whatever.
Yeah, menopause belly, menopause, Yes, I get it. It does happen. But there is an explanation why, right? And I think when you know the why, when you know that you're not alone, and you know that these things happen, it's not your fault. It's not like, oh, I let myself go, or you need to look at it as like, okay, this is happening. Yes, it's might not be great, but it's something that will happen no matter what, and just find other ways. It's an opportunity to, maybe if you ate everything that you wanted, just go and check, okay, maybe I don't need that ice cream every night, right? Or something like that. Take care of your nutrition. Like I said, incorporate some weight training exercise, even if you hate it.
Yeah, I was going to say, for those of us who don't have access to a gym or just really don't like going, what would you suggest for weights?
Yeah, so those are just excuses. I think about when I tell people that hate exercising, in general, right? So you need to find a kind of like an ultimate life goal. Like, okay, I hate exercise, but I know exercise is good for me. And I want to live to be with my grandkids and be able to play with them, and be healthy. So you need to think about exercise as something that is important for your health, not so much wait until you feel, oh, I love it now. Now I'm going to exercise. That's not reality for many people. So if you hate exercise, you just have to, of course, like there are strategies, right? If you like to, we start with a movement that you enjoy. Some people like to do, I don't know, Zumba classes, and you can do that to begin with and start developing the lifestyle and the habit of exercise. And then from there, you can, be more specific and start to incorporate weight training, for example. And if you're, like you said, oh, I don't have a gym, you can do it at home. There are lots of videos out there on YouTube. You don't even need a dumbbell. You just use your own body weight, right, to do
I was going to ask for Julianne too. She's been doing, what is your workout? The Beast?
The Basement Beast, and it's with bands. And I found it was less stress on the knees and things that are starting to hurt more. So,
yeah, I love the bands.
And
yeah.
I wanted to ask, if you're 70 years old and you say, oh, my arms, they just look like those grandma arms, is there hope for you to build muscle at any age?
It's harder, right? 60, it declines. There's a graph that shows the decline of muscle mass, and it's like after the age of 60 is like a really steep decline. And it's hard, but it's not impossible, right? And you have to think about it. It's not only muscles, it's joints and movement and functionality. We want to be able to pick up stuff from the floor if it falls without, so it's oh my gosh, so many dozens of benefits from exercise and, like bone health, right? Which is a big thing for women. 1 in 3 women will develop osteoporosis here in the US.
Wow. 1 in 3.
1 in 3.
And so that I heard too that impact exercise does help that. I'm sure having your vitamin D, your calcium, all of that helps. Being in the sun a little bit, that vitamin D too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah. So exercise is, and for mental health too, right? To sleep better. So those, so back to the symptoms, you have the vasomotor symptoms, which is the hot flashes, right? You have weight gain, then you have sleep problems because your progesterone helps us to induce sleep, and we don't have that. So, and then we have like memory fog, like memory changes, like brain fog, mood swings. Then those are more of the, kind of like mood and emotional health, depression.
You said the brain fog. I'm feeling so much better. I really start to think sometimes I have pre-Alzheimer's. So knowing it's perimenopause makes me feel happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
People do. Yeah. Some women are like, it's so bad that they think it's, oh my God, it's Alzheimer's or something. But it's the hormones,
Okay.
Yeah. There's so many. There are actually, so yeah, I have a workbook I'm going to tell at the end of our talk. On my website, it's a 20-page workbook that goes through all of that. Like there's even like a scale with the symptoms, like 21 symptoms that are clinically already determined to be associated with perimenopause. But actually there are up to 34 symptoms, but these 21 are the most common ones. So you can check and see what your score is, right? But I mean, if you have more than 3 of those, it's probably perimenopause. And if you're around that age, so perimenopause is different ages, but the average is 45 years of age. So, but it can start early. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's
and
the
Anna,
average.
you and I are both 50, right?
Yes,
did you
I'm
turn?
50.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I started like I was 42
Okay.
when it started. Yeah.
I wonder if I could even track it. I don't even know when it may have started.
So track
guess
your periods.
periods.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Track your periods and see, and then the symptoms, you can also start like a little journal. And if you go through these symptoms that it's, on my workbook, you see them, and then you start checking them like, oh yeah, I have, difficulty sleeping. I'm feeling anxious more than the normal, and kind of like that self-awareness is key. I say like it's a great time for women. It's people are, sometimes associate menopause, perimenopause with this negative experience. But I say it's a great opportunity for you to become self-aware of your body, of your health, right? And and like start, if you haven't before, start taking care of yourself.
We are sponsored by Dream Dinners. DreamDinners.com or mouseandweens.com. Click the link and do enter Mouse and Weens 99 at checkout if you're in the local area of Poway or San Marcos down here in San Diego, and you will get $99 off your first full order and free delivery if you choose it. You guys, Dream Dinners is a meal preparation service that makes dinner time so easy. I love doing them with my family. My husband can cook them up really quick. It's just a wonderful thing with good, healthy food that recreates mealtime for us. It's given us lots of family time back. Dream Dinners uses high quality foods. They cut, they prep, they bag it up for you. All you have to do is thaw out your meal, look at the recipe card, and pop it in the oven or stovetop, and it's ready usually in 20-30 minutes. So do go to dreamdinners.com, look for your location, enter Mouse and Weens 99, and let them know we sent you. Enjoy this wonderful life hack at Dream Dinners.
Taking care of yourself, right?
Right.
What are some ways to combat? So things I heard you mention, exercise to combat maybe the depression part of it, or, and then what would you do to combat what are like the top 5 things, or is that oversimplifying? There could be many, many things. And how do you
you can simplify it, which it's more like a general recommendation, right? Because of course, like I said, each woman is different. So, but honestly, if nutrition, if you put it, like if you start first, I always start with questions like I was saying, just write down the symptoms, right? You start with the analysis first, right? Kind of like get a sense of what's happening. Right. And then you can start making maybe your nutrition better. And then if you don't move enough, start prioritizing exercise, spending, okay, I'm super busy. Well, you have to go to your calendar, start like, maybe I have, a little time in the morning to do 20 minutes of walking. So, exercise, nutrition, and then those 3 things, right? And then the self-care. And then the self-care is kind of like this big term that for people can mean, oh, I'm going to get a pedicure. That's self-care. Yeah, that could be self-care. But also like stress management is self-care, right? Maybe mindfulness. And people are a little intimidated by meditation here in the West because some people associate it with a religious practice, or, yoga people that do meditation. And really meditation, if you research, even, go on Google, there is Harvard is using, University of Colorado has a big research center for meditation. And it's nothing but a technique. It's just a way to train your mind not to, get caught on thoughts, to decrease anxiety, to be more present, to breathe, to, calm yourself down. So that's science. It's not, there's nothing mystical about it. So we need to bring out mindfulness and meditation as kind of like a strategy, to that if you cannot afford to get a therapist, you can still try to manage on your own. There are ways.
And how do you define mindfulness? What does that mean?
So I think, well, mindfulness, meditation, I guess there are different definitions, right? But mindfulness for me, at least, is just the kind of like, you can use mindfulness to eat, right? Being mindful is just being present. For me, that's what it means. So mindfulness, I like to say, to use the term mindfulness meditation instead of just mindfulness, because mindfulness could be just being present overall, which is actually great if you can be more mindful throughout your whole day, mindful of how you talk to people, how you talk to your kids, how you interact, but also mindful about like how you eat, mindful about your posture, mindful if you're stressed out, and then mindfulness meditation is the actual practice, like the meditation practice, which uses some, usually some sort of kind of like something for you to grab on, like the breathing. So you focus your attention on the breathing. So that makes it easier for you to, be more like focused because it's, what people say about meditation is that, oh, I can't do it because my mind is crazy. I'm thinking of these things. Yes, it's not, the purpose is not to stop thinking,
Yes, this is me. You just did an imitation of me. But I did learn one little technique that I'm starting, and tell me if this resonates. But I breathe in a square. Have you heard of this square breathing?
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that to me makes sense. What is it, like 2 breaths in, hold it, 2 breaths out, hold
exactly.
it.
It's
And
just
it occupies my mind a little better than all the other worries.
exactly. And I also tell people that are very intimidated by it to start with something like that, like tangible, right? Or yoga. Yoga is great because then you're like stretching. But I have to say here, because I practiced a type of yoga that was really kind of like intense, and it was great, but I wouldn't even recommend that. I would recommend more of a yoga that is gentle yoga, restorative yoga, hatha yoga, the ones that are not more focused on power or intensity. It's more of that you get your breathing. So you get that awareness of your body going through those postures, and you start breathing. So that can be considered, in my view, as a type of meditation because you are present, right? You are breathing, but it's also for those people who can't sit down and just, close their eyes for 10 minutes. They can start with that physical part that is yoga, or do something like you said, Joelle, the square breathing, or even like deep breaths, right? For counting to 4 and then deep inside, inhale, and then exhale a little more, maybe 6, counting the breathing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things, what they do, back into kind of like the symptom and stress, for example, when we are in perimenopause, we also have the tendency to increase our cortisol levels. And that, I forgot to say about the weight gain, that's a big one that some women, especially if you're very stressed and there's a lot of anxiety, some of that abdominal fat can be a result of cortisol. And cortisol is a hormone, it's a stress hormone, right? It's a stress response. So whenever we are stressed, or it could be, some bad news or some stressful situation at work or with family, we release cortisol. And cortisol, like that, when I said in the beginning, our bodies, are under stress, it will try to hold on to body fat and all that. So that's the connection there.
So stress too, and I read this a long time ago, and you kind of forget these things. But so we're trained in our youth and 20s, even into the 30s, if you want to burn fat, you do aerobics, right? You're running, you go on all the machines and you're going for it. And that's how you burn your calories. Well, is it true then that if you're running, you're always in that fight or flight response? So your body is kind of hanging on to that fat a little harder. So to do things like yoga, and I even read somewhere that people who do Tai Chi lose fat quicker than those who are running and things like that. I don't know. Is there truth to that?
Well, you see, like that, you cannot ever claim that's like something will make you lose fat, because
Right.
there's so much more than that, right? In the physiological level. But I totally agree with you bringing that, because I actually was, I had this course that I was into. It was menopause athletes. So it was about nutrition and exercise for, perimenopausal and menopausal women. She's a professor in Stanford, and she was saying that it's first, again, back to the topic, weight training, right? We need to make up for the muscle loss. And second, rest. So what you're saying, what you mentioned about the aerobic activity being actually, it increases cortisol. So endurance exercises, which is crazy because you think about it, if you're in a Peloton for 1 hour, you spend like 700 calories.
Yeah.
So that's intense. And you're like, okay, that's great. I'm going to lose weight. But if you do that every day, you are you're super stressed in your, like, physiologically, right? Even though exercise is a great stress relief. For me, it's a stress relief, right? So I do it mostly because of that. But if you do it too much, it creates stress. So yes, it can be not that you might not gain weight, but you might not lose that, kind of bothersome little layer of subcutaneous belly fat.
Right. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's my problem right there. I have to stop all this running. Just kidding. I'm not doing anything right now. I have to get back into it. Okay, so we have weight training. We have the healthy rest and exercise. Now eating. What things, when we go online, all we see are Target ads and, the pill that'll make you lose fat, the pill that'll make you feel better. Eat this, eat that. What do we do as far as nutrition and diet?
Yeah, if it sounds too good to be
5
true.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, my kind of like what I say, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably it is. It's not, it's not true. So and that's the thing about social media and all these, fast, shortcuts to losing weight, to feeling better, and what I worry most, actually, because it's more like people that offer kind of like hormones, like bioidentical hormones, and then you're gonna feel great, anti-aging, because these are doctors, and we should trust doctors. So and the worst thing, I was talking to my husband yesterday, is that sometimes these people they start to improve their health because they're starting to pay attention to things. And it's not really the expensive saliva test that costs $500 that they're doing with this doctor. It's because they're starting to eat better, they're starting to take care of their health, and then they're like, oh, this is working, right? And they're taking all these hormones or whatever. So back to your kind of like, there's all these flashy, diets, and unfortunately,
fat burning pills. I just bought a bottle at Costco thinking, well, what can it hurt? I'll just throw it in with my vitamins. And it was this concentrated, like, citric acid with turmeric. Is that the one? Or cayenne pepper or something, where it's supposed to kick up your metabolism, but
just a waste of your money. Sorry.
Damn. Maybe they have fiber in them too. They'll help with that.
Turmeric is not bad. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think you will benefit too much from it.
All right. Weens, your mouth was moving over there. Sorry.
I might have weird internet here. I was just on a hike with two girlfriends. One is 50 and one is older than that. But the talk was, I think we're going through perimenopause. The period's gone from 7 days to 2 days. It's probably happening. And it was about doing top coat progesterone, like, where you rub it in, and her sister's doing that, and it's apparently working amazing, but is that really something? And then she said also birth control. That's a great way to level out your hormones. And what do you say to that?
So yeah, the hormones, right? So the thing is that, okay, unfortunately, the number one complaint is that women feel either dismissed by their healthcare providers, right? Or they feel kind of lost. So I actually recommend to my clients to go to a website. It's the North American Menopause Society, NUMS. And you can put your zip code and you find a provider who is certified by them. And at least they have menopause specialty, right? Because I saw the other day this survey. It was, I don't remember the university that these students, they were in their residency. So these are future doctors, right? These medical students who were already on their residency for both primary, clinical health, like, and of family, right? Family health, like, and also OBGYN. And on the survey, they have 7% of them felt that they were confident that they could manage or treat a woman with menopause. So even in medical school, there is
only
a disregard. Only 7%.
Yeah. They're not getting the training.
Yeah, family medicine. That's the doctors that we go to for our annual checkups, right? So like, Julianne was saying, women are, oh, let me try this cream. Oh, let me do this. Oh, it comes from yams, so it's natural. I can, just rub on my skin. And I wouldn't recommend any of that. I would recommend seeing a doctor, and not that will be kind of like set in stone, but at least you can be, listen to what they have to say. And if your symptoms, especially like hot flashes, symptoms that actually can have an impact on your quality of life, sometimes a hormone therapy can be a treatment. It can be very useful, but sometimes it's not. So there's nothing that we can say, oh yeah, that will be the solution to your problems, that will treat your perimenopausal symptoms, because and those doctors, they need to see you at least every 3 months to see, okay, is it working, right? So for me, I remember taking the pill for my night sweats, and it did help. And then they start to subside by themselves, and the night sweats. So I don't even take that anymore. But I was, I had a doctor with me, because there's also some doctors out there that use bioidentical hormones, which are not FDA approved, but they use that as a treatment. So you have to be careful, So, yeah.
So go to your website, and perhaps they'd send you to an endocrinologist too, someone who specializes in hormones.
Usually,
No.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I shouldn't answer that, but I was going to say what my experience was when you're done.
Yeah, I think my opinion, I would see an OBGYN, right? But they actually can be like family doctors that have that. What I'm talking about is the specialty from the NUMS, from the North American Menopause Society. So they have like a menopause specialization, I guess.
Yeah, I like that.
So, but they could be, they could be an endocrinologist as well. But
okay,
Yeah,
yes, Weens. Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, I was just going to say, it reminded me of my experience, which was I started to feel like my hormones were out of control. And it was, this happened probably 3 years ago. So it was probably at the start, I'm guessing, of perimenopause. And it was mostly really, really sad mood swings right before my period. It would be like it was turning into 7 days of really low depression feeling. Mm-hmm. And then I finally, I was talking to my therapist, and then I finally went to my doctor. My doctor said, go to the OBGYN. I went there. They sent me somewhere like Quest Lab to draw blood, and they found that nothing was wrong. So I said, okay, well, it must be me. I need to change something else. And then I heard from someone else that you might have just happened to draw blood at a time where your hormones were different.
Exactly. Exactly. Hormone. So you see, that was a misstep right there. Your doctor did something that was really, if he knew anything about menopause, he would know that perimenopause, there is no hormone test to determine if you're perimenopausal, because like I said, one day you can have normal levels of estrogen and progesterone, and the other day you might have different. So, and even like FSH and, LH, all these other hormones, it's more towards menopause that, oh yeah, you can have a test once you have your, you haven't had your period for months, then they can, okay, let's see. So they test for FSH, usually they're high, and then they're like, ooh, this is higher than what it should be. So probably you're getting very close to menopause. That's the only time. And if you see like these, you follow these doctors, they are real, real doctors, usually from the NUMS, they will tell you the same thing I'm saying, that there is no blood work that will tell you you are perimenopausal. So that's what happened to you. So they're like, oh, no, it's fine. But it's a clinical, when you determine if you're in perimenopause clinically through your symptoms, not through blood work. So those symptoms. Yeah.
And you know what? They ended up telling me I should go on antidepressants, which I did. And I still am a little bit on them for a year, all because it was so unbearable for those those big dips. And I was exercising, I was eating well, I didn't know how to bring myself up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah. So what I've heard from doctors is that sometimes hormone therapy could manage those symptoms. Sometimes they actually recommend antidepressants, right? So it's, again, you would have to be seen by a doctor who knows, like, okay, maybe we should try hormone therapy first. And then if it doesn't work, we can try antidepressants, because for both of these treatments, prescription medications, there's side effects for them, right? So so that's important too, right? So if you have side effects from what you're taking, is there another alternative for this? And like you say, sometimes we just go with it because that's what the doctor is, telling us. And that's why knowledge is so important, right? Knowledge, it's empowering, because if you knew that maybe at that time, you would think like, okay, let me ask you, what about hormone therapy? Because I heard, even though you're saying that it's not perimenopause, I'm in the age around that it could be. And I read somewhere that, I could have all these symptoms. Can we try that instead first? Or, so the thing is that the message that I would like to give is that there are alternatives and that there are different options for women. And we need to become more, more kind of like, put our feet down and kind of demand for our right to have the right treatment, right? For us, not be just taking whatever we get. Okay.
Right.
And then you're still dealing with other symptoms, right? Because antidepressants might not work for other things that you can be experiencing. So
yeah, it's tricky. I even had that where I went in for sleep problems and they wanted to quickly prescribe me antidepressants. And I'm going, They didn't even ask about menopause, so to not get that medical gaslighting kind of treatment and really advocate for yourself. I like that. Smart.
Yeah.
So Anna, in lieu of taking all of that, if we were to say, I want to come to you, I want to do it more natural, what kind of plan would we set up?
Yeah, so I coach, right? So I have like a coaching kind of, and that's funny because I kind of changed my title. I've always been a nutritionist, but for me, nutrition is just part of it. And I was pretty judgmental with anything else like health coach or life coach, all these terms that for me, it meant like, okay, this person got their certification online. But honestly, what I like now, I'm okay with it, is saying that I'm a health coach, right? And my background is in nutrition. But so like when I see women one-on-one coaching, then we go through all of those things. And so I have a little method that I call FEMME, in French. So the F stands for face your challenges. So that's kind of like going through your symptoms and your challenges and, getting that assessment. And then the other components are just pretty much lifestyle. So E is eat enough, eat enough nourishing foods. So instead of taking out any foods and, diet is the,
no more cabbage soup, no cabbage soup diets.
No, it's still like fasting, intermittent fasting and all that stuff. Not good for us. So any diet, any restriction, it's actually super detrimental for our health, not only physical, but mental, because, who wants to be dieting, right?
I get so mad anytime I've ever cut anything out of my diet. It just makes me angry. That's not good.
No, it's not good. So the nutrition part is pretty much like learning nutrition and learning what you should start to have on your eating habits, and maybe exclude a few things, but not exclude completely. Just don't have them every day. If so nutrition, and then you have movement, which is I do some recommendations in exercise, which includes also rest. Depending on the person, can be someone that's really active, so they actually need more rest, and some there are sedentary that need at least like the basic movements first, right? So we start where the person is, then manage your symptoms. That's where if you have problems sleeping, so we will focus on that. If you have more like a stress, and usually they're all tied in, right? If you start incorporating a healthy lifestyle, one thing will lead to another, and you start sleeping better, maybe your stress will be reduced and you feel better, you're less fatigued, which is another symptom of menopause, perimenopause. And then at the end, empower your mind, right? The E, or at the end of FEMME, is to bring that self-care, to start a meditation practice. And I even have I guide people to start, like I said, start slowly, or start with an app that you can do for 5 minutes, And so it's kind of like it builds on itself, and the person will have to first prioritize their health and give some time, because it's easier said than done, because you have to actually, get your schedule. Oh, I'm super busy. I have kids, teenagers. I have parents that are starting to get old. We are the sandwich generation, right? We call, it's called sandwich. And I think it's a great term, because we are kind of like in the middle of this, our kids either leaving our houses or growing older, and then our parents getting older, and we are there, right? Kind of trying to manage everyone and everything. So very stressful times, right? And then I also started a group. So I have lessons that I created, and women can, it's a self-paced, so they can go through the lessons and then meet with me. So it's kind of nice because then, I can see people if they need more of a like coaching, one-on-one, or just, a group. So yeah, so that's basically it. But like you said, it's more a natural approach. Like I don't, if I recommend some supplements, that's about it. But of course, it's beyond my scope of practice to recommend any prescription medication. But sometimes I do recommend someone to see a doctor, right? To follow up if the symptoms are very kind of like debilitating. You need to see a doctor.
That's smart. Yeah, we should have opened this show with these are not medical. Go see your doctor if you really have some problems here. This is
definitely
lifestyle, nutrition, diet, exercise advice, not medical. But I love that. And I love that you do the classes in groups for those of us who this sounds kind of overwhelming. Like, where do I start? How do I start? What do I do? What is good nutrition? All of that. So I like that you have it packaged up. That's great.
I do.
So where can we find you?
So my website is Anna, A-N-N-A, Araujo. That's the hard one, ARAUJO.com.
Yep. And we'll link it in our show notes too.
And on Instagram, I'm pretty active on Instagram, not Facebook so much, but more Instagram. And I'm Perimenopause _coach on Instagram.
And she's great on Instagram. I copied a bunch of your things here. Just good quotes and advice and cute videos that you speak right to me. I mean, it's like kind of what I'm thinking about that day. It's like you can pick up on that. But here's one. Low carb diets may cause more harm than good for women over 40, especially active women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there you go. We all think we need to cut out carbs, but and then we can take the conversation further, I'm sure, and find these nuggets online and reach out to you. I love that.
Yeah, definitely. That's one. That one got me. I guess I got even the one. When it's good when somebody says something bad, when they criticize the post, and I'm like, ooh, I hit the spot right there, because the extremists, it's always about extreme, like, oh yeah, low carb, take out the carbs. And carbohydrates are super, super important, especially if we exercise. That's the main source of energy that our body needs. And if you cut them, it's like, now it's the villain is carbs. And I'm like, okay, I'm just waiting until this carbs is not going to be the villain and something else will be the villain, right? Like fat in the 90s.
Right.
So,
and then the keto diet and all of this, you go into ketosis, and that doesn't sound right to me.
Exactly. You want your urine to be that acidic? That can't be healthy. I mean, even if you don't know physiology, that is not normal. It's starvation mode. Do you want to be on starvation mode? Stress your body to that point?
And
I
then
don't think so.
Is you gain it back as soon as you start eating normally again, right?
Yeah. And then you hear, oh yeah, so many people have so much success, but usually if you look, there are people that are really fit, exercising men, usually males, not women. We need carbs. And carbs, another thing that carbs do, I have a whole, I think I even have like a blog post on that. But when if we cut carbs from our lives, the first thing we will see is that we get really depressed because of serotonin. Carbs stimulate the production of serotonin, and then we don't have carbs. Literally, we are depressed because
Jules, maybe this is it. She only eats the cheese off the top of the pizza. I'm gonna eat the whole pizza.
No, don't worry about it. Now, you kind of don't want to overdo it either, right? But the carbs are, especially like, fruits, and grains, whole grains. Bacteria in our gut love that. So we need to feed them well as well. So if you don't have any good source of carbs to feed our good bacteria, it also, and there's a lot of research in the microbiome and in relationship to our brain health and mood and all that as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love it. The wealth of information. I have a million questions.
Oh my God. I could talk for hours.
I know. Well, I
so
love
much.
the debunking the myths too, because you get caught up in what the ads are telling you or what the diet is or what your friend is doing and the shakes and the drinks and the this and the that. And yeah, it's got to be a better balance and a little more natural. It just doesn't seem right. So
yeah. And, when you talk about, lifestyle, but it's not sexy, right? It's not sexy as saying, eat this, follow this protocol, and follow this diet, and you will lose 20 pounds in, a month, or you burn fat. That sounds so sexy. But when you talk about, no, you actually have to do the work, and you have to, it takes time. It's not going to be something quick. And people want fast solutions to things, right?
absolutely.
Fast solutions. That's the human mind works like that. We want,
Especially here, we want that immediate gratification.
oh yeah.
Well, I really do like watching you online. You said you have a blog too.
On my website.
You'll do big, blog posts, which are great. I've read a few of those. And and do you do this all over Zoom, or is it local to San Diego?
Yes. So now that finally we're seeing people, I'm actually opening the doors to in person. I never thought, to be honest with you, before COVID, that I would go online, seeing people online, but I had to change my whole approach, right? I had to change my whole business to like online coaching, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess most people will still prefer to see me online, but if you're in San Diego, why not, right?
Right.
You're not seeing in person.
Kind of do any other testing, like body mass index, like fat testing or exercising or any of that, or is it more just the program?
So I do. There was a time that I was kind of struggling with it. Oh, should I do body composition testing? Because I've always done it with my athletes, right? Because
Not called fat test.
Sorry. Well, they do like calipers. They test your
I used
tricep
to do
and all
that. Now I have like an ultrasound that does that.
Okay.
So it's pretty great. But I was struggling because I'm like, well, I don't want women to be focused only on that aspect, and then we kind of like tie in with another problem, which is kind of like the emotional kind of struggle of women and their self-esteem and kind of like that kind of diet culture and all that stuff. So I was going through this process of like, should I do it or shouldn't I do it? Should I offer body composition testing or not? So what I'm thinking is that I actually have a couple of clients that I do test them, but they have to be at a certain kind of like mindset to be able to look at it and say, okay, I do have some abdominal fat, but that's fine, and not get that in their heads that that's the only thing that matters,
Right.
So I do offer in some, let's say I offer that, but I will be the judge of like who would take that as like information, which is great to know, okay, I have some body fat and I know where it's distributed, and or like use that as information to maybe use that for a goal, like a short-term goal. But again, even if you want to lose weight loss as your goal, that should be a kind of like a one bonus that you will get, because your health is even more important than losing weight, right? Feeling great, feeling energetic, not feeling fatigued, sleeping better, and all of those things, right? Feeling more stronger, right? Feeling like you can, squat better or whatever it is, your body, your mood. Those things, in my view, are more important than what your body fat is. But if you lose some body fat in the process, that's great, right? And usually that's the case.
Yeah, but it's almost like fighting an uphill battle when we're getting older and our bodies are changing, and we can only do so much without going insane. So I like that whole approach. That's great.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, Anna, look at this smiling, radiant person. I can just feel your warm spirit through
my red
hair. Yeah, and your red cheeks. No, you're beautiful. Thank you so much for being on with us. Anything else you wanted to tell people? Any summaries or?
No, I guess I'm glad that you're doing this. It's an outlet for women to hear something, right?
It's kind of this
information.
Invisible, embarrassing thing nobody wants to talk about. You know, I have such thin hair. That's a thing. Of course, the wrinkles, all that good stuff. But we, in America, especially Southern California, don't ever age, right? We can't show it on Instagram or anything. So it's so nice to see your post where you're being honest and open. And you're kind of right there in the camera. Often doesn't look like you're wearing a lot of makeup. And it's so empowering just to see how natural and happy and vibrant you are. So,
thank you, Joelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we'll be in touch. I'm sure one of us is going to sign up for your services soon. I'm retired now, so I have a lot more time to focus on me.
Oh, great. There you go.
All right. So everybody, please go to Anna Araujo.
Yes.
I like rolling that R. I don't know if it's even right. .com. We'll post everything in our notes, our show notes. So be sure to follow her on Instagram, perimenopause_coach. And we love it. Hopefully you'll find some new clients and keep this good thing rolling.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Joelle and Wayne.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. So you can find everything at mouseandweens.com. That's where we're going to post everything. And we just want to give a special thank you to our patrons.
Thank you.
Over on patreon.com/mouseandweens.
Mouse and Weens.
We hope that you guys have liked the extra episode. You guys got a whole bonus episode. Nobody has heard it. Only you.
Bonus.
And we have posted little videos and outtakes and fun stuff like that. So if anyone else wants to join, that's where we are. But Julianne,
what?
You have nothing to contribute here.
Well,
you're
you
just
asked
saying
me
words.
to come in and I don't know what you're saying.
What are you? A fluffy cheerleader?
Yes.
Just a poof here and there?
What do you want from me? I don't
She
know what's
did
happening.
just poof in the bed too.
Would you stop?
All right. Anyway, we want to say thank you to Sarah, to Joyce, to Carla, and to Jody. Thank you so, so much.
Thanks, friends.
And we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
You're mean.
She was a beautiful girl with a beautiful smile. She had it all figured out for a little while. Then it all crashed down on her head. She didn't know who to call, didn't have any friends except the hair salon, but nobody was in. She crashed right down on her bed.
When we came back into Rome, I got a message from one of my sales girls here in the office saying, "Oh, Sal, we need to talk to you." Yeah, at that point in time, I had no idea what was in store.
Oh shit, I think there's an issue. The entire amount has been pulled out of our accounts.
This is Fool Me Twice. This is a podcast about diamonds. My mum and I were approached by a woman in Hong Kong who owns a diamond business and had a pretty compelling story to tell. This podcast follows that story and attempts to unravel some of the shadier aspects of the diamond industry as a whole.
The feedback from him was that she is a very smart woman. She is conniving and very good at getting away with these sort of things.
Diamonds are the ultimate status symbol.
Trust is such a centerpiece of human society.
You can find Fool Me Twice, all about diamonds, on Ozcast Network and all podcast platforms.
This was a podcast of the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.